Alrighty, welcome on in, right here, right now. This is the College Football Playoff Top 25 Ranking Show. We are so hyped to get this started, and it's coming up in just a few moments. I really am out of words for how excited I am for this one. Welcome on in. Okay, let's make sure we're doing this right here. All right, we're doing this how we wanted to do it. So in just a few moments, we're gonna have these great rankings coming out, and it's going to be a good time. I've done this before, but never in a year like 2020, where you really don't know what's gonna happen every single day. It could be so. Yeah, they're gonna have all their rankings. Yeah, I really hope we get some good knowledge on who really is one of the top teams in the country. Um, you know, when you have discrepancies between programs, and this year in 2020 you have unique amounts of games for each team. You have some teams playing uh, far more games than the others. Some teams, like the Big Ten, they're playing right now. They're about halfway through their schedule. Ohio State, I believe, has played uh, 4 games or so far in this season. We know good. The remaining games for Ohio State this week, they're going to have Illinois on FS1. The following week, they'll have Michigan State on ABC, and then Michigan to close out the regular season. And then, obviously, all of us believe that they'll be in the Big Ten championship. It would take a major stumble for them to miss the Big Ten championship. Now, I've done these before. I've done these playoff top 25s where, I'm always surprised, but I'm never surprised more than I am in the first rankings. The first rankings are going to tell us really what to expect going forward. Here, and I'm hyped. You guys should be hyped. It's always a fun time. To see who's ranked high and who's ranked low. You know, the Pac-12 is an interesting animal as well. When we look at the Pac-12, they've got a really short schedule, potentially 6 games plus one. And we've seen so many canceled out west as well, where, it's really they're hanging by a thread of getting these games in out west, and somehow it looks like they're going to try to make USC and Oregon play every single game, no matter what happens. All right. So the rankings are coming in as we speak. Tulsa at 25, Iowa at 24, Oklahoma State 23, Auburn 22, and Marshall at 21. Those are the first rankings we have so far, and I really agree. I knew we were going to see Iowa somewhere in here towards the bottom, and I think the wins that they have, the three wins that Iowa's put on have been in dominant fashion. It's been Michigan State, it's been Minnesota, and it's been Penn State. Two of those on the road. One of them, of course, to start that streak at home. And I think we've seen an Iowa team really take a major jump. And we know that the first loss to Purdue, a game that they maybe could have won, a game where it's the opening game, you give them, a break. And then the second loss was to Northwestern, who right now is the front runner in the Big Ten West. All right, more rankings coming in right here. Coastal Carolina coming at 20. North Carolina coming at 19. 18, we've got the USC Trojans out of the Pac-12. 17, it is the Texas Longhorns out of the Big 12. And at 16, it's the Big Ten's Wisconsin Badgers. So Oregon will be in the top 15. I'm going to move this here. All right. Sorry about that. We're into the top 15 now. Oregon. I said they'd be in the top 15, and they're right at 15. The Ducks rated lower than BYU, lower than Iowa State at 13 in the country. Number 12, we have the Indiana Hoosiers, and number 11, we have the Oklahoma Sooners. So these are going to be the top teams in the Big 12 we've seen here. Iowa State at 13, Oklahoma at 11. That's a tough tough hill to climb, I should say, to get into the top four. And we are starting with our top 10. Miami, the Hurricanes out of Miami of Florida, they're at the 10th position. Interesting enough is that their only loss, I believe, is to Clemson. And really, they've been underlooked ever since that game. They were, I think, beat pretty badly, but not a bad football team at all. Number 9, we have the Georgia Bulldogs out of the SEC. Now, this team really has had their shots. They've had Alabama on the road, and then they had Florida at a neutral site. They lost both games. They're at 5-2. They're not a bad team, not a great team either, but you know, I don't really see a path for Georgia. I think it's even smaller chance than Texas A&M has, even though Texas A&M really uh, they're in the same boat as Georgia, but I think Texas A&M has such a little bit of a higher chance, knowing that they. Okay, we're at top number 8, Northwestern Wildcats. This team really bad year last year, a really bad start the year before, but they were able to rebound. And this shortened season, they're at 5-0. This is really the best start Northwestern has ever had in their program's history. I really don't have anything better than that. Is that Northwestern's 5-0? Their remaining schedule, this I should have their remaining schedule, but I do not have their next game. What week are we in here? Northwestern gets Michigan State this week. It's on ESPN too. That should be an easy game for them. Number 7, we have the Cincinnati Bearcats. Oh my gosh, that is I can never spell Cincinnati. You know, I've screwed it up so many times, and now we're gonna get into the top 6. I don't know what team they're gonna reveal first here on the show, but we've got the 6 teams that we're gonna see are going to be Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Notre Dame, Florida, and Texas A&M. Those are the 6 teams that we're going to have. So my prediction is that we're going to have Alabama at 1, Ohio State. I think Ohio State will be 3. Notre Dame maybe 2. I think Notre Dame will be 2. Clemson 4, and then I think A&M will go 5. Florida 6. I don't know, maybe a different order. But what I've seen so far is that there's a lot of power in the SEC. I think a little. It's a 3-team race in the ACC. I believe we only have. Do we have 3 teams ranked in the ACC? No, we have 4, I believe. So Miami, Carolina, and then those top 2. And then crazy that we have all the group of 5 teams that we got ranked here. I think this might be the most group of 5 teams I've ever seen in the rankings. Cincinnati, BYU, which I don't know. BYU, I don't know if they're really a group of 5 team, but certainly they're not usually a power in the top 15. They're starting with the top 6. They're going to put Florida at number 6. So they did lose to Texas A&M, which is why they're lower than A&M, and A&M coming in at number 5, which is what I said would be uh, the case here. Florida coming in at 6, A&M at 5. I think these 2 teams are really 5A, 5B, and I do see a potential that these teams can get jumped. I do see Northwestern can certainly get in. Georgia can't. Cincinnati, I really don't know. But I think it's a foregone conclusion that there's only a few teams that are left in the mix here. Yeah, these 2 teams don't have an opportunity really to get to the SEC championship. We have number 1 team. It's a pretty consensus discussion when you have it. Consensus opinion, I should say, that Alabama is the number 1 team in the country. They've had really all the praise. Notre Dame coming in at number 2. They had the big win over Clemson. Of course, that was without Trevor Lawrence. He was out with ACC's protocol of COVID-19. Notre Dame coming at number 2. Number 3, the committee has put Clemson at number 3 and Ohio State at number 4. Now, there's going to be a lot of controversy within this, but I don't know what you can say is the problem here, but I really think we have the best 4 teams in the top 4 right now. A&M, Florida, they're good teams. So if you want to expand it to 8, you're going to have Cincinnati, Northwestern. I don't know. Okay, so we're going to get this stuff wrapped up here. I'm going to get this sent into my socials real quickly, but I really think that the committee valued the amount of games these teams have played. Ohio State's only played 4. They've only played 4. They were supposed to play 5 by now. And I think a Big Ten championship can give them that jump over the ACC non-champion. So in the end, they'll be fine to get into the number 3 spot. And I think really we can't overlook these rankings at the beginning of the season. Things are going to be so much different as the season progresses. But you gotta take it for what it's worth. But Ohio State, the remaining strength of schedule, not very tough. This week, they've got who do they have this week? Gee, why am I forgetting this? Oh, they have Illinois this week. Easy game. Next week they'll have Michigan State, and then they'll finish off with Michigan, and it's going to be at home against Michigan. So really, those three games are not real. None of those teams are in the top 25. Not an opportunity to boost their resume, and it's really a tough situation for them. But they will have that Big Ten championship. I think it will have to be Northwestern. I really don't see another team that, with the amount of games, with the few games that they're playing, it'll definitely be the Northwestern Wildcats. They'll get there. So all the talk's gonna be this top six, but when we look at the rest of these rankings, we've got all these independents and group of five teams in here. Now the biggest thing is that Iowa is in the top 25. It's a team that every year the AP leaves them out of the top 25, and then the playoff committee looks at them and says that they're in it. I really don't know what it is every year, but the Associated Press must have something against Iowa uh, that just leaves them out, and then the playoff committee consistently ranks them higher than they would be in the Associated Press poll. Now, the interesting thing is that the Big 12 is out of the top 10, as well as the Pac-12. The thing is that Ohio State's at 4, but the current Pac-12 leader is at 15. The Big 10 is the team at 4 and 8, at number 4 and number 8. Well, the Pac-12 has teams at 15 and 17, or 15 and 18. So there's a significantly more forgiveness to the Big 10 for playing the amount of games opposed to the Pac-12, who's played, I think, like 3 weeks now, and not 3 complete weeks for the entire conference. It's been really spotty who's been playing. And, you know, we're going to have a lot more data evidence coming in as this season continues. We're going to be back next Tuesday night. I believe that's what's going to happen. They're going to do this every week until Sunday, December 20th, which is when we'll have the selection day. So it's not going to be that often that these shows are going to take place. So December 1st, December 8th, December 15th, and then Sunday, December 20th, when we'll have semifinals determined, unless the playoff committee or whoever is governing the bowls decides that they want to push back the playoff, which has been kind of discussed, but not really fully. The consequences are that if you push it back, you may not even be able to put it on if there's some further restrictions or guidelines that happen. And we know that the Rose Bowl, I believe, is not going to have any fans, but then you've got the Sugar Bowl, which is presumably where the number one team is going to play. At the Sugar Bowl, if it's Alabama or it's Clemson, is that they'd play at the Sugar Bowl and that they'd have that home field advantage. And the Rose Bowl is probably going to be that 2 versus 3, assuming that Alabama wins it all, or Clemson wins the number one seed, is that you'd see a huge advantage. If Alabama, Ohio State were the matchup in the Sugar Bowl, there would be fans in New Orleans for Alabama. Now, we had that Sugar Bowl back in the first playoff when Ohio State beat Bama as the number 4 team. Now, the really sad part is that the Rose Bowl is not going to have any fans, and also that the Pac-12 is not going to have a team in the playoff. From what we've seen, the Pac-12, don't tell me that there's So we also have learned that the Minnesota-Wisconsin game has been canceled. Uh, so that impacts Wisconsin and their ability to build a resume, and that's a really big game. The Axe, I really wanted to see someone win that Axe this year, and it's really sad that we've seen so many games canceled. Again, we'll be back next Tuesday, 7 Eastern, 6 Central, 5 Mountain, 4 Pacific. Until then, we'll have college football tonight, Saturday night, breaking down the games on Saturday after whatever weekend we have this Saturday night. That's of any interest. I think it's Oklahoma, West Virginia. I think after that game, we'll get you a show right here on the YouTube channel as well as the podcast. But we'll have all that coming up. Again, these rankings, you can take a screenshot, share with your friends, whatever you got to do. But we've had a lot of drama this season, and it's only going to increase as we get closer to selection